political face-off. Taiwan's two main parties look to start the new year with a victory. COVID check-in. Taiwan's hotel cluster grows and more imported cases are confirmed. Demanding democracy in Sudan. A leader's resignation and a win for protesters despite a violent crackdown. Putting on a face. We meet the Taiwanese artists giving a traditional craft a facelift for the next generation. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. The upcoming by-election in Taichung once again sees Taiwan's two major political parties going head-to-head. In last-minute campaigning, the vote has highlighted the long road ahead for the opposition Kuomintang or KMT. Gov't reports.
Warming up for another busy week of politics in Taiwan. In just 6 days, residents in Taiwan's second-largest city, Taichung, will head to the polls to elect a new representative to the legislature. It comes after they voted to recall Chen Bo-wei of the pro-independence Taiwan State Building Party in October. And, as it often is with Taiwan politics, the battle for the seat is really a face-off between the country's two major political parties. The ruling pro-independence Democratic Progressive Party, or DPP, is looking to snatch up a seat that is traditionally a stronghold of opposition pro-China Kuomintang or KMT.
But then after the recall against Chen Bo-wei, it seems to return to the status quo. And so the DPP is trying to kind of reverse this in that sense. And the DPP is probably emboldened by the results of the referendum that took place last month, in that this resulted in a win for the DPP. And so now trying to make back inroads into Taichung is what the DPP is focused on at present.
On Sunday, President Xi'an appeared to call out the KMT candidate, a member of a large political family embroiled in corruption allegations.
国会议员应该要思考怎么做好让国家的经济更好，不是整天想着让自己的经济更好。大家讲对不对？
But the Taichung vote also reveals the big challenge facing the KMT. How can a party favouring closer ties with China gain support from a young Taiwanese population increasingly wary of the country's belligerent neighbour? Over the weekend, a retired general and KMT member left the party and spoke up in support of the DPP candidate in Taichung. Among his reasons was an agreement between the Chinese Communist Party and the KMT called the 1992 Consensus, which states there is only one China, but that Beijing and Taipei have their own interpretation of that China.
国民党信任9·2共识这条路，我觉得以我一个职业军人的立场来讲，我在战场上跟解放军相遇，我怎么可能会有9·2共识的可能呢？
The party's close relationship with China is arguably the most pressing challenge facing the KMT chairman, Eric Zhu, after he took office in August last year.
I mean, for example, there's been calls to reform the party internally to try to win back the support of young people because young people feel alienated from the party due to its stances on cross-strait politics, that is a pro-unification party, but also due to this record of corruption. And so I think particularly when you have these calls, it is calling for turning over a new leaf in the KMT. And so we have a new KMT chair, Eric Chu, but to date, he has not signaled pushing for change.
As the KMT continues to struggle for relevance, all eyes are now on Taichung, where the DPP seems confident in snatching up another political win. Patrick Chen and Gov't for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's government has introduced a ban on products made by Chinese electronics brands. The move follows concerns over data security surrounding Chinese products. Many Western countries, including the US and Australia, have implemented similar bans, most notably on 5G equipment made by Chinese company Huawei. Government statistics indicate that almost 20,000 products from Chinese companies were in use in Taiwan's local and central governments last year. The ban applies only to Chinese brands, not to all products with components made in China. Taiwan Central Epidemic Command Center has revealed another potential COVID-19 cluster infection centered on a quarantine hotel in Taipei. 2 cases have been confirmed with the Delta variant, though the link between them is not yet clear. Other guests on the same floor have been moved to different hotels or government quarantine centres. One of the confirmed cases tested positive after leaving the hotel. His infection led to the suspension of classes at a local preschool, and 8 of his close contacts are now in quarantine. Thousands of people took to the streets in Amsterdam on Sunday to protest the Netherlands' stringent lockdown measures amid a fresh wave of COVID-19 infections fueled by the Omicron variant.
The problem here in the Netherlands is that we don't have enough capacity in the hospitals for the people, so raise that up. And I know it's not a thing that can be erased in 2 or 3 months, but we don't do anything about it. So maybe we should solve that problem and not put everybody inside the houses, make them unhappy, because unhappy people get sick.
Maskless protesters marched through the city holding yellow umbrellas in a sign of opposition to the government. Police attempted several times to break up the crowd, causing scuffles, but the rally remained mostly peaceful. The Netherlands went into lockdown in mid-December. Non-essential stores and other public places in the country are closed until at least January 14th. New COVID case numbers are down slightly in the Chinese city of Xi'an in its second week of strict lockdown measures. Authorities reported 122 new infections on Sunday, down from 174 the day before. Xi'an has reported over 1,500 cases of the Delta variant since December 9th. People have been forbidden from leaving their homes, with many of the city's 13 million residents reportedly going hungry as a result. The harsh measures reflect China's determination to have zero COVID status ahead of the Beijing Winter Olympics next month. Another pro-democracy news source has shut down in Hong Kong, just days after Stand News closed following a police raid. Citizen News, founded in 2017, said it will stop operating on January 4th. The outlet said it was concerned for the safety of its staff and can no longer advocate their beliefs without fear. Citizen News is the third major pro-democracy news outlet to disappear from Hong Kong in under a year. Jimmy Lai's Apple Daily folded this past June after national security charges against its management allowed police to freeze their assets. Stand News suffered a similar fate last week when 6 senior staff were arrested under suspicion of publishing seditious material. Citizen News's closure leaves just one major pro-democracy news source based in Hong Kong, in media. Well, 2021 was a challenging year for journalists and media in many parts of Asia. Taiwan is one of the few places on the continent where the push for democracy and freedoms has remained strong. I spoke to Peter van Praag, CEO of the think tank Halifax International Security Forum, about the United States' strategy of building alliances with democratic countries on the continent and how it has played into relations with Taiwan and China.
With regard to China and with regard to Taiwan, I do think that he is sending very, very strong messages that the United States really appreciates Taiwan's democratic development over the past 25 years, that Taiwan has made incredible strides and is a net contributor to global security and global peace and global wealth. And I think that he continues to send those messages. And I think going forward into 2022, I expect that those messages are going to be signaled even stronger. The American people are pretty tough, and they don't like being pushed around and meddled with. What's coming out of China is not something that the American people appreciate so much. So I think that President Biden signaling that there's going to be a diplomatic boycott of the Beijing Winter Olympics. It's significant that a number of significant countries, the UK, Australia, Canada, joined right away.
The boycott of the Winter Olympics, what effect does that have?
I think it's very, very important that it's happening. It's also very important that just recently the United States Congress passed a bill that would not allow any American products to come from slave labor from the Uyghur areas of Western China. This was something that a number of American corporations lobbied against the government, including Apple, including Nike, including Coca-Cola. yet the Congress and the administration are moving forward on that significant legislation. So all of these parcel of something rather significant. There's a shift in the American attitudes towards China that started a little while ago, and it is picking up steam. As soon as the Americans reach some type of consensus view that doing business in China is not worth the trouble, there's going to be an incredible shift in the American body politic, and that then will lead, like I said, to a firmer, even firmer stance from the Biden administration going forward.
Coming up, guess which Christmas tree in Taiwan gets a star from a renowned international travel site? Details after the break.
Thanks for watching TaiwanPlus. For more great stories from here in Taiwan and around the world, please download the TaiwanPlus app.
这是我们台湾人要送给台湾的礼物。
我们都清楚，我们都在一起，在完成一件事情。
这是我们的根。
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. A reminder of our top story. The upcoming by-election in Taichung once again sees Taiwan's two major political parties going head-to-head as both parties gear up for last-minute campaigning. Let's now have a roundup of some of the international news making the headlines around the world. Sudan's Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok has resigned after failing to restore a civilian government in the African country. A military coup in October has led to political deadlock and ongoing protests calling for a transition to civilian rule. In 2019, Sudanese protesters holding sit-ins and other peaceful means managed to topple the North African country's long-term dictator. As Louise Watt reports, Sudan has since struggled with the military trying to take over power.
Security forces fire tear gas at anti-military protests in Sudan's capital Khartoum on Sunday. At least 3 people were killed, bringing to 57 the death toll in protests since a military coup in late October. The coup was a blow to Sudan's fragile transition to democracy, 3 years after a popular uprising led to the overthrow of longtime autocratic leader Omar al-Bashir. Protests have been ongoing in several cities, at times drawing tens of thousands. On Sunday, Prime Minister Abdallah Hamdok said he was resigning. He had been arrested by the military and then reinstated 6 weeks ago in a deal he argued could save Sudan's journey to democracy.
ولقد حاولت بقدر استطاعتي أن أجنب بلادنا خطر الانزلاق نحو الكارثة والآن تمر بلادنا بمنعطف خطير قد يهدد بقائها كليا إن لم يتم تداركه عاجلا.
Hamdok's return to power was denounced by many in the civilian coalition that had previously supported him, and by protesters who saw his deal as a concession to the military. Hamdok said he failed to settle disputes among various political forces and warned that the political deadlock could lead to a full-blown economic crisis.
إن الأزمة الكبرى اليوم في الوطن هي أزمة سياسية في المقام الأول، ولكنها تتمحور وتتحور تدريجيا لتشمل كل جوانب الحياة الاقتصادية والاجتماعية، وفي طريقها لتصبح أزمة شاملة.
Hamdok, an economist and former UN official, first became Prime Minister of a transitional government in 2019. At that time, the military and the protesters agreed on a power-sharing deal that was supposed to pave the way for elections in 2023. But the military coup in October derailed the deal.
أنا ما راضية بالانقلاب اللي حصل من البرهان. بعتبر الانقلاب اللي حصل ده خيانة للثورة، خيانة للشعب، خيانة للشهداء، خيانة لكل حاجة إحنا كنا حلمنا بها. فالانقلاب اللي حصل ده إحنا بنرفضه تماماً، ونحن حنفضل في الشارع، حنفضل نناضل لحد ما نجيب الدولة المدنية.
Security forces have tried to violently suppress demonstrators. On Sunday, internet and phone services were disrupted ahead of more planned protest. But protesters say they're not giving up till the military steps down.
Our young protesters on the street in order to realize a civil system that is completely no room for the military people in this system, and they are going to realize their objectives sooner or later.
Hamdok says he hopes someone else can lead and complete Sudan's transition to a civilian democratic country. For now, there is only more political uncertainty. Damon Lin and Louise Watt for TaiwanPlus.
At least 24 people have been injured after a shallow earthquake shook the tourist city of Lijiang in southwest China. Footage shows roof tiles falling into the street along with other debris as the quake struck on Sunday afternoon on the border between Yunnan and Sichuan provinces. The local meteorology agency measured the quake at a magnitude of 5.5 and depth of 10 kilometers. The COVID-19 pandemic has made life especially difficult for many people in developing countries. But a local initiative in Indonesia is helping to put food on people's plates while also tackling pollution. The Bali Plastic Exchange operates on the island of Bali. Locals collect plastic waste and trade it in for bags of rice. The island has been particularly hard hit by the pandemic as its economy relies heavily on tourism. A local souvenir shop owner says the program has been very helpful for the community.
Setiap sampah plastik itu bagi warga sekarang itu sangat berharga. Bagi perekonomiannya lah, membantu perekonomian untuk beli beras lah. Soalnya sampah plastik inilah bisa ditukar dengan beras.
The Atlantic forest of Brazil's Rio de Janeiro state is the only place in the world where the golden lion tamarin still exists in the wild. The animals have lost 95% of their habitat, with their number dwindling, and scientists are fighting to save a small group that's been separated from the rest. Ken Ning has this story.
This is the Mico Leo, or golden lion tamarin. They are only found in forests of Brazil. Their playful appearance belies a serious existential threat. According to the conservation group, the Meta Population Project, there are only around 2,500 left in the wild.
In the 2014, our census identified something like 3,700 animals. That means from 2017 until today, after the arrival of the yellow fever, we had for the first time a decreasing of the population, and this called us the attention very much.
Conservation efforts over the past few decades brought the animal back from the brink of extinction. But an outbreak of yellow fever in 2018 wiped out a third of their population. Now, experts are concerned that this dual carriageway has confined a group of monkeys to a small area of forest, which could lead to devastating consequences according to local conservationists.
The scientists showed that the population living over there would be completely isolated from the other side of the road. And that would create a real problem in terms of conservation. Genetically, that population would be isolated, and that's really bad.
To help the monkeys reach the other side, the Meta Population Project built a bridge across the busy highway last year. It's covered with trees, shrubs, and herbaceous plants in the hope of making it a natural corridor attractive to the primates. The conservationists say with the forest fractured by towns, pastures, and roads, a bridge like this is crucial. The endangered monkeys are down to just 5% of their habitat, but they are determined to give them a better chance at survival. James Rayner and Ken Ning for TaiwanPlus.
Ever started walking somewhere only to realize it's much farther than you thought? Well, a group of researchers from Tokyo University might be able to help you out. This is an inflatable electric scooter that can be carried around easily in a backpack. It can be blown up into a portable ride in just 2 minutes using an air pump. And it can run up to 90 minutes on a single charge of its battery, traveling at 15 kilometers per hour. Now, there's no excuse for not going that extra mile. This season's Christmas display in New Taipei City made a UK travel magazine Wanderlust list of the world's most spectacular Christmas trees. The Lego-themed tree and installation in New Taipei's Banqiao district was the only entry from Asia on the list. It was featured alongside such well-known Christmas displays as New York's Rockefeller Center and Rio de Janeiro's floating tree. Bajiajiang performers in traditional costumes and with faces painted in bold patterns are often the most eye-catching part of Taiwan's traditional temple festivals. Artist Lin Xi'an is one of the few people in Taiwan still practicing such traditional face painting, and he's determined to pass the skill on to future generations. Our reporter Pichi Zhuang has his story.
Facial artist Lin Xi'an is recreating the essence of a Taoist god. The strokes, the pattern, and the blending of the oils are skills he first learned years ago from an old master of the art. Now, Lin is one of the most respected facial artists working on Taiwan's Bajiajiang, for which he applies special facial makeup on the performers.
在一般人的眼中，可能它代表着乌烟瘴气。换另外一种方式去想，它就是一种绘画。
Bajiajiang is part of Taiwan's long-established temple culture. It refers to 8 ancient generals revered as god of the underworld. The facial makeup on performers creates a unique appearance and helps them get into character. But few people know about the artists who apply these intricate patterns.
表现的方式有很多种，有一种是寓意，然后一种是形象。
Lin has dedicated 30 years to Bajiajiang culture. He's experienced many ups and downs and become a master in the process. But now he faces a new challenge, his health. He has eye problems which make focusing on his work difficult. But the prospect of no longer being able to carry on his passion has made Lin more determined than ever to introduce his crafts to a new generation. Lin hosts workshops at local schools where he retells the stories of the 8 generals and introduces the children to this traditional art. He's also worked with the popular street dance troupe 铁四弟 to inspire more young people to get involved with 八家将. And when he's not busy painting faces or raising the profile of temple arts, Lin has a side job helping to combat COVID-19. He makes visually striking face masks using his skills, allowing people from around the world to enjoy the same patterns he has applied to generations of Taiwanese performers. Rick Yi and Peachy Zhuang for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for watching TaiwanPlus News. I'm Yin Khvat. 2022 will also see the start of the Year of the Tiger. We'll leave you with footage of 5 Siberian tiger cubs at a South Korean zoo. For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, please download the TaiwanPlus app. Stay safe and see you next time.